Hey, Nick.
Hello, Warwick. Hello, listeners. How are
Hi.
we today?
Hello, listeners. Well, we don't know because they can't answer, Nicole.
Well, they can't answer me. It is a one-way conversation, but perhaps they'll send me a message. I do get messages from time to time with jokes.
Do you?
I do.
None of you listeners message me.
Maybe you need to be telling bad jokes so they feel like they've got to come and fix it for you.
All of my jokes are bad. What are you talking about?
I don't think this is out of support. I think it's out of sympathy.
What do
All
you got
right.
for us today, Coxie?
Why is a snake difficult to fool?
Nope.
Because you can't pull its leg.
Welcome to the Tradies in Business podcast with your hosts Warwick Bidwell and Nicole Cox. Divert your phone and grab a brew as Waz and Nic unpack tips, tales, secrets and stuff-ups from guests both inside and outside your trade, helping educate and inspire you to break the cycle of gut-busting and money stress and create a true trade business.
Boom, boom.
I told you today they were really bad.
At least we're consistent. We always do a joke, even if it's not funny.
We do a joke. And, I remember that we started these because we're trying to get the attention of someone, weren't we? There's a not rival in our field. There was another podcast I was listening to at the time that was very funny, and they spoke a lot about cricket. And I thought we might be able to have a bit of a joke off, but their podcast has gone very big time and astronomical, and us mere mortals back here on Tradies and Business Planet have been forgotten about, and I never got to have the joke off.
But our content has changed more lives than their ridiculous jokes, I would say, Nicole.
100%. That was very serious.
Now, speaking of changing lives, we're talking to someone today who has the potential to change your life, listeners.
Oh, this is a big claim.
I'm setting her up for a fall here. Well, I hope not.
Oh, no. What an intro.
Emily Mason from NextMinute. Welcome to the Tradies in Business podcast.
Thank you very much.
I hope you're welcome. Now, this is take two of our episode with you, Emily, because we tried to do this the other day, and my very exciting, very wonderful internet that I signed up to a little while ago decided not to play games with us. And I don't have a backup system. And you work for a software solution, so I hope you guys have got backup systems like I don't.
It's one of those things, whenever you go live, it's the same when we do product demos. That's when the product stops working. Right? It work all week perfectly for no one else. And then as soon as I try and show 100 people at one time, sorry, we're going to have a breakdown.
Need a bit of processing time.
Yeah.
What's your how do you hustle in that situation, Emily?
You got to be able to think on your feet pretty quickly. Thank God. I actually happened this morning. I was doing a webinar and the job planning screen was just taking forever to load. And thank God I had a couple of other tabs open. I was like, just while we're waiting, I'll show you something else that we've got going on. Have a look at our website.
Yeah, here's some screenshots that you can actually interact with. Dear,
That's exactly right.
So, Emily, our listeners would be very familiar with some of the job management systems that are out there in the marketplace. I'm sure you're sick of hearing this. But there are some that seem to have pretty big marketing budgets, and they are everywhere, it seems.
Yeah.
It's probably the old story of biggest doesn't always mean best. Just because we see a lot of something doesn't mean it's actually the best solution. Just look at McDonald's. It's on just about every corner. Not necessarily the best food you could eat. So talk to us, or talk to our listeners a bit about NextMinute, perhaps how it started and, why is it different, if it is, to the other offerings that are out there?
Yeah, cool. So we actually have a really cool story about how we were founded. So our founder is a software developer. He had nothing to do with trade or construction.
Wow, that's
he's
different.
a tech developer, yeah. But he was having his house renovated, and he really wanted to get progress claims from his contractor. So he didn't want to get stuck with a big lump sum at the end of the build. He was like, can you send me, $5,000 invoices every week or whatever it might be? The contractor was like, yeah, no worries, that's fine. And then never sent them. Or if he did send them, they were wrong or inaccurate, like there was bits missing. And so after a few weeks, our founder was kind of like, what's the problem? Like, what is this roadblock that you're having in being able to send all this information? And it's like a pretty typical story, right? it required someone to be, oh, sorry, that's my Slack. I'll mute that. But it required someone to be in an office sitting at a desk, being able to produce the invoices and having like a whole day to collate timesheets and material costs and bring them all together to be able to get an accurate invoice put together. And that never happens, right? Because your office day, you get a phone call and you've got to go back to the job site, or something's come up, or, you know, you just decide you can't be bothered. It's probably the least of your worries, because no tradie gets into business to sit behind a computer. So he eventually kind of was like, right, I think I can build a system that would help you collate all this information to make this really easy and to make it available to you in the next minute.
I love it.
Yeah. So that is where the name comes from. That's kind of the background story of how the product was built. And then it was just kind of organic growth, word of mouth, that took the product off. And whilst it was great for us, and whilst we've seen a lot of benefit from word of mouth, we are really big on understanding that that's not the best way to take advice to run a business. And so that's one of the educational pieces that we're really focusing on at the moment is just because, you know, someone's got the biggest marketing budget and you see their brands around all the time doesn't mean it's the right product for you. And make sure that you are doing the right education and the right research to find the product that suits you best. And so for NextMinute, we really know where our target audience sits, and we know that we work best for residential builders because that is where our product was built for. So going back to the story, we were built for a residential builder who was there, you know, helping extend someone's backyard or back deck or, you know, whatever it might be. And so that's where we play and that's where we work best.
Emily, can you tell me about the software? Like, how does it work? What are the features and the benefits for a builder?
Yeah, cool. So the product itself is a desktop and a mobile-based version. Works on both Android and iOS devices, phones, tablets, you know, any kind of device that you might be working on. And it helps you manage we call it the 4 Ps internally: people, pricing, planning, profits. So if you think about, you know, what you need to do on a day-to-day basis, you want to plan out your job, you need to know what tasks need to be happening, you need to know where your people are going to be and what jobs they're going to be working on. And then you want to start planning or being able to record the pricing that goes with that. So how much is it going to cost your business internally and versus how much you can charge back to your customer? And then at the end, how much profit are you going to make per job? So we have a whole bunch of features that relate into those 4 sections. So as I said, we've got the planning side, so your Gantt charts, scheduling out all of your tasks. You can send notifications to your team to let them know where they need to be at what time. We record all of the timesheets for the labor side of things. And then we record the material costs that get accrued or used up on the job. They can come from supplier invoices. So if you go and make a purchase of materials from your trade supplier, we can pull those invoices in from the accounting software, or you can just manually enter in the cost. And then we do all the quoting and invoicing side of things as well. And that's where the profit starts to calculate from.
Fascinating. So I find that this is one of those areas that tradies are really resistant to taking on board. And I think there's a whole bunch of reasons why they've become resistant to this. First and foremost, they don't know what they don't know. So they don't really know what to look for in terms of what kind of software is going to work for them. And then secondly, there's a lot of fear or I guess a sticking point when it comes to implementing using the software in the first place. So, Emily, can you explain to me how you help builders or tradies understand whether this software is right for them?
Yeah. So we have some really good points there. So we know that, like, I think it's something around 38% of small businesses don't use any kind of electronic tool to manage cash flow. That's small business in general in Australia, but the biggest majority of that subsector is made up by trade and construction. So it's something like for somewhere between 60 and 70% of businesses don't even send their invoices electronically to their clients by using a software. So they might send them electronically using like a Word document or a spreadsheet to calculate, but they're not using a software that helps manage. And that leads to cash flow stress. So it leads to these businesses spending more than 6 months of the year stressing about cash flow. And so that's kind of one of the biggest things that we want to try and help with our clients. And we know there's a big chunk of our target audience who needs that help. So for us, in terms of how we help, it's with setting up an implementation and things like that. It's all included. We don't charge any additional fees. Our sales team will do as much as we can to help support in the setup process. And then we have a customer success team who will work with you for 3 months to make sure you're fully trained on the product. And that 3-month period, it's like once a month, we'll reach out to you and offer training and things like that. But if you need more, it's available to you. But generally, it only takes about an hour to get NextMinute set up and pretty much ready to go. And the app itself is really straightforward. Like if you want to enter a timesheet, it says timesheets. So you click that button and you enter your timesheet, you enter the amount of hours that you worked, and it will prompt you to select the job that you're working on. So it really doesn't take a lot of time to learn the product. Yeah, well, there was another part to that question, but now
I guess I was talking about, we actually covered both, how you figure out whether it's right.
That's right.
Yeah. And the second part was, how do you help them? Because there's that big roadblock about, oh, I don't have time, I'm too busy, I don't know what to do. So you're covering that already by saying that you guys help with the implementation and the startup of that. I guess it's just helping them select what's right for them.
Yeah, so we're really honest with that process, because we know that if we sell our product to someone who isn't going to see value or benefit from it, you're just going to cancel and it's going to leave a bad taste in your mouth. You're going to look at us like we're dickheads for selling you the product in the first place. And we're going to look at you like, well, that was a waste of our time. So we don't want that to happen. So we are really, really honest when it comes to our sales process. So if we think that this product isn't going to be suitable for you, we will tell you. And we will actually tell you where we think you should go down, which pathway. But we do that through qualifying questions. I have a checklist that I can share with you guys as well if you want to put it up anywhere or share it with your database. But we go through a list of questions around, do you have features, if you've used a product before, do you have features that are must-haves that you have to have in your business that you can't live without? The easier way to go about it, though, is for tradies who have never used a software before, what are the problems that you have in your business that you're trying to address? And then we can work out if we have features that meet those problems or provide a solution. And generally, it's going to be, we don't understand our profits, or we don't understand how much money we're making on a job. And that's where we can definitely help. From there, it then goes into more specifics. So we'll ask questions around, do you have a budget that you want to spend per month? How many staff would be using this product and need training? Do you think they're going to be resistant to that training? Do you think staff will pick up an app and start using it if they've just been handwriting their timesheet somewhere for a really long time? So understanding all of those factors kind of play into how we will help make a decision for you or guide you through that process.
Do you ever find that people don't really know why they even need your software?
Not generally. I think we find that by the time they've come to us, they've already come to the conclusion that they need the software, whether that's because someone like a business coach or an accountant or a bookkeeper has told them they need it and then they put some thought into it, or if their wife has been like, this isn't working anymore, I'm sick of dealing with paperwork. So generally by the time they actually get to us to have a conversation, they are willing and open-minded to it. Occasionally, though, we do have some people kind of go, I don't get it. Like, why?
What are some of the other objections that you guys hear from potential users?
We generally will just hear that, the team don't want to use it. That's probably the biggest objection that we will hear is, I know that my staff won't pick up a mobile app and start using it, or it's just another step they have to add to their day or another process they have to add to their day. And we do understand that objection. We do understand it can be a big mindset shift for a lot of people. But at the end of the day, we're really big on forcing the business owners to take control of their business and don't let your staff dictate that for you. If they require a timesheet to get paid, they need to enter that timesheet via the app instead of handwriting it. And it will help coach them through that process for that first 3 months to try and get them on board and get everyone trained as well as we can. And eventually everyone does come around, go, that was so much easier.
Yeah.
But it's that's probably the biggest objection we do here.
If you're wondering what the hell just happened to your audio, we're just dropping in here super quick to let you know that obviously we do a ton of free content. You're listening to the podcast. We're all about helping trade business owners. We have free stuff on our website as well. And just in case you don't know, we are the founders of Tradies in Business and the Tradiepreneur program, and we have a bunch of ways that we can actually help you in your trade business, whether that is the fact that you're drowning in paperwork, whether you want to 10x your business or something like that. Maybe you just want to take a holiday with the family or stop being so stressed, maybe get some sleep at night. I don't know, any of those things. If you are wanting some sort of change in your trade business, then we've got a range of things that we can offer you. Best place to find out about those is the website.
www.tradiesandbusiness.com.au. And
like the ball girl or something.
That's terrible. I feel like, anyway, more importantly, I think that it's time that you have the opportunity to hear some of our clients tell you how they have found their opportunity to work with Tradies in Business.
Before we joined the Tradiepreneur community, we knew we had lots of things we should be doing, but we didn't really know what they were.
We were completely overwhelmed with running our business.
Since we started with Nic and Waz, we've been able to implement some strategies that have helped us achieve more than 15% turnover. We've seen a net increase of up to 20-25% per month in net profit. Tradies in Business have assisted us with having directions and goals.
And that we can actually achieve anything we set our minds to. We just needed a coach in our corner to tell us that it's all possible.
It is so much easier once it's done. Sorry, Warwick.
Yeah, no, all good. Some of us used to pay our bills by putting a check in the post too. But
we have some clients who want to pay us by a check.
Oh, no.
There's two who have said, "Do you take check?" And we're like, "No."
Wow.
Yeah, I think often. Sorry, Cox, you're doing a really good job of my usual talking over the top of you today. At least I'm not doing it to our guests much. Yeah, I think I like that point that you made, Emily, about business owners taking control of their own business and not being dictated to by staff or by customers, because that's a big area that Coxie and I see where our clients and trade business owners in general seem to do lots of bending over backwards for customers, and it often bites them on the bum.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask, are there other changes in behaviour that putting a system like this in place can force with business owners?
As a result of this in place? Yeah, absolutely. So that's a really good example is not letting your customers dictate how you run your business. Like a really, really good example that we've done a lot of educational work around is using variations, building sites. So, the customer comes to you and says originally they wanted XYZ done, and then they change their mind, and there's no communication around, well, this is going to cost more, it's going to take more time, or the materials have gone up in price, or the color changes are going to take, that tile is going to take longer to come in, though it doesn't get communicated, or if it does, it gets said verbally, and then everyone forgets, or it's misconstrued, and then over the 6-week period, the customer starts to go, hang on, why is this taking so long? So having that all recorded in a software is going to help, one, at the end with disputes from the customer, but two, keep track of all those costs and all those conversations so there is never any confusion. And that then triggers for the builders to understand that they can't let that happen in the future, because they start to see their profits dipping and they start to see the margins coming down, and then they start to understand how much of an impact it really does have on the job. Another really big one that we've noticed is business owners not recording their own time as part of the job. So they don't put their time sheets in because they don't think they have to, or it's their business. But that then means that the customer's not being charged properly for how much the job, or you think you've spent a lot less time on the job than what you have, and therefore again your profits aren't accurately being reflected. And a lot of the time people still make a profit because their margins are right. So they are going to make a profit, but they're not making as much of a profit as they really should be. So that's a big one that we've noticed, is that the business owners are starting to use the timesheets just as much as they push their staff to use them.
It's fantastic. Emily, what we often get to see because of the position we sit in, the way we work with people, is the benefit of using some of this. So some of those light bulbs that you've just spoken about, but there's an ongoing lifestyle benefit that I don't think necessarily business owners equate back to using some sort of software to support them in their business. And instead, perhaps they don't have time even to think about how that has been created for them. What kind of benefits have you seen for your clients or you hear about from the sales team as they're working through the implementation?
Yeah, I think we did a customer survey recently. So we've done a few. One we did to learn about our ICP, so who our ideal client profile is, what we thought in our mind when we personified who uses NextMinute. We wanted to make sure that matched with who was actually using it. And we found out that most of our clients are more educated than we probably expected. So a lot of them actually went to university. They were around the 40 age mark with more than 2 children, so married with more than 2 children, and loved being outdoors and wanting to spend our time outdoors. And so we kind of knew that was what it was going to be, but it was nice to get that actually put down. And then the second part to that survey was, how has NextMinute, since implementing it in your business, how has that played to bring benefits into your life? And we found out 40% made more profit in their business, or they understood their profits better since implementing the product. And I think it was 30% had more time back in their life to spend with family or friends and go surfing or fishing or do whatever that outdoor sport is that they wanted to be doing.
This is just one of many systems that can be implemented in a business with the software then to support it, can create that kind of outcome. That's incredible.
Yeah, exactly. And the other thing, like just on the software side of things, is a lot of them try and use their accounting software to do job management.
Yeah.
And like, it can do it. It's not going to give you the right results or the results that you want to do. And then you're going to spend all this time mucking around trying to change things, and you're going to overcomplicate the process to get the results that you want. And the time that you spent doing that, there is software's purpose built that already do it.
Yeah.
So you could have saved all that time. And I guarantee you, your accountant or bookkeeper will love you if you're not in zero mucking things up. It makes that transition and that process of working together a lot smoother.
Yep.
And that's going to give you a lot less stress as well, because they're not going to be chasing you up or constantly on the phone asking questions like, what have you been doing? Or you calling them asking, why is that here and why is that there and why can't I see my profits correctly?
We both drew breath there, Nicole. This is it's like a quick draw duel. I wanted to talk to something that I've spoken to previously on the podcast, I'm sure, probably more than once, is oh my gosh, I've got so many subscriptions. This is another subscription. Why do I need all these subscriptions? We've got too many subscriptions, too many tools. And I listen to that from tradies sometimes and I think, hang on, a tradie just said I've got too many tools. I don't believe you. And it's just that it's in a different realm to what you're used to. If you are a tradie listening to this and you're the business owner, you have a gazillion tools. There's not one power tool that does all the jobs. There's not one hand tool that does all the jobs. You need specific tools to complete the overall project. And when you're running a business or you're building a business, pun intended, you can't do it with just one tool. You can't just sign up to Xero and think it's going to manage your timesheets and your bookkeeping and your tax reporting and your job management and your quoting and your sales. It just doesn't work. And it costs you a lot more than $70 a month.
100%. That is the best example I think I've ever heard. That's right. And like Xero can do it, but it will just do a little piece of it. It's not going to do probably to the depth that you want it to do. And it's not just trading construction that software exists for. It's every industry in the world has specific purpose-built products for them. So anyone who's running a small business is going to have multiple subscriptions. You're not special. You're not different just because you've got them all. So does the guy next door who runs his business.
Absolutely.
Software
is a lot cheaper than staff. Sorry, Emily, to jump in there.
Yeah, no, that's right.
NextMinute is doing things that in days gone by that I unfortunately or fortunately can still remember because I'm old enough. There were, as you were saying, there would be someone sitting in an office doing all of these tasks. And, in today's dollars, we're talking a $50,000, $60,000 person, maybe $70,000 administrator that would be taking care of a lot of those tasks. Whereas we can solve a lot of these problems now or take care of a lot of these things for the sake of, a few $100 a month subscription or whatever it might cost for that particular software as a service. So I think, we have an amazing opportunity as trade business owners especially, to run our businesses very lean, which is music to a lot of tradies' ears because they're epic tight asses. And, just think about it. You spend $3 or $4 grand on a piece of software, that's saving you $50K. Like, that's the deal of the century.
Yeah, we always say, how much do you spend on beer and pizza for the team? That much, because I can guarantee NextMinute's cheaper.
Great.
Guarantee you will spend less on your subscription.
So, Emily, are there any exciting changes or updates to come to NextMinute in the next 12 months?
Yeah, look, we're always building out new features and growing and scaling the product to suit. So at the moment, we don't have a client portal, so there is nowhere for your clients to log in and kind of see a progress update of what's been happening. There is reports and different downloads that you can get to send to them, but they don't have their own login. So that is, over the next 12 months, one of the major features that we would love to build that will take us to a more competitive level with some of the other softwares that fit in the same space as us. And then outside of that, generally we'll try and release 4 major product releases per year. And given we're coming to the end of the calendar year, we haven't quite determined what next year's roadmap looks like. We just know the client portal is kind of number one. So that will be the main focus for now.
That'd be awesome.
Very exciting. Yeah, to be able to communicate that information. In fact, that's one of the real roadblocks we see around dispute management at the end of a job is often the lack of communication throughout the process. We talk often about a particular blog post that ranks incredibly well. It's Tuesday, where's my builder? And quite simply, builders aren't on site every day. Nobody knows that they're not meant to be on site every day. And of course, we don't, as the builder, we don't tell the consumer that. And so that's causing frustration and alarm for them because they don't understand. So having some sort of portal so they can track the progress, get that understanding, the communication can go both ways, will certainly not only make dispute resolution a lot easier, it keeps the client comfortable throughout the process to minimize some of that frustration as we get towards the end of the process. Yeah. Very exciting indeed.
Huh. Well, I have a question, Emily. If you had 1,000 trade business owners in a room, apart from being excited, what's one piece of advice you would like to leave them with?
I think for me, it is don't take the advice from the guy you're sitting next to at the pub. So if you're a builder and you have a subby who works for you who's an electrician and he thinks that Tradify is, God's gift to this earth, it probably is for him. It doesn't mean it will be the right product for you. Make sure you do qualify software before taking that advice. Do your research, do a Google search, and just as I said, we've got a checklist of questions that you can use to go and ask, not just us, but any software provider. They should be able to answer all of those questions really honestly. And if they can't, move on to the next one.
Love it.
Great advice.
I mean, you can get your tax and investment advice from your mate at the pub, but not your software. Okay.
That's totally fine.
And we'll grab that checklist from Emily and drop it in the show notes. So Emily, obviously, where to find out more about NextMinute? NextMinute.com. And if you want to remember it like NextMinute, we're totally cool with it. Just spell it differently.
It should be in our Google SEOs. So if you search NextMinute, it'll come up.
I want to see you guys do a spoof. Have someone. Actually, you could get that guy to do your promo videos.
Yeah, he does cameos. We've to it, and our CEO actually knows him. He's a professional skateboarder, and our CEO's sons are they're young but semi-professional skateboarders, so they've kind of been around the traps at the same time. So
yeah, right.
Very cool.
Well, Emily, thanks for coming on the podcast again. This time it worked. The internet stayed. We're okay. All the best for your future. You've got some exciting stuff coming up, and we look forward to seeing big things from NextMinute.
Yeah. Thanks, guys. It was awesome.
You've been listening to the Tradies in Business podcast with Warwick Bidwell and Nicole Cox. Find out more about today's guest, tools for your trade business, and other cool stuff at tradiesinbusiness.com.au.